Young Wreckage said, Daze, do you think it'll be interesting if Strowman had a split personality where he's trying to keep that beast inside of him from emerging? I think it would be cool. Yeah, I agree. I think that Strowman has come out and said that he's feeling the pull back to the Wyatt Six. So I think it'd be really interesting for him to try and deny that. You know, I like the idea of that whole revel in what you are playing out again, because we saw it with Bray. Bray didn't want to be that person. And Uncle Howdy was like, revel in what you are. Could you imagine Howdy doing that again, but this time with Braun? Revel in what you are. Only this time, we would get to see a lot more of the reasons why. Right? A lot more of the reasons why. I think it'd be really interesting if Howdy said to Braun, you've got to revel in what you are, because if you deny your true self, there will be bigger repercussions, right? And actually, it could turn out that when he was trying to get Bray to embrace his true self, you know, he was trying to get Bray to embrace who he really was. He was doing that because he was trying to save Bray. He was trying to help Bray, because Uncle Howdy knows that if Bray doesn't do that, Bray's going down the wrong path, because all of a sudden then maybe Bray, if he denies the existence of that darker spirit within him, if he denied the existence of that or tried to subdue it, it could take over Bray and it could become a real problem for Bray. It could be like, he might think it's bad, I don't want to be like, you know, doing this now. It could have been a lot worse. So actually, we could even find a way of revisiting that initial story back in 2022. And we could show that Uncle Howdy actually, back in 2022, wasn't being a douche to Bray, right? He wasn't being someone that was trying to cause trouble. He was trying to help, and he was trying to save Bray, because he knew what the repercussions would be if Bray went down the road he was going to go down. And we can explore that story by retelling it this time around, only seeing a much bigger perspective now, because now we know a lot more about Uncle Howdy. And I think Howdy can explain a lot more to us, and we can use vignettes and we can use tweets and we can use a lot of things that we didn't use for Howdy back in 2022. I think that'd be really interesting. I love the idea of revisiting some of those things in the past and giving a new perspective on them, you know? I think people always want answers for the past. Like, who opened the door in the funhouse? We all believe it to be Alexa. And, you know, what about if we revisit that and it turns out it wasn't? And we could actually make out it was someone else, and we could take that story in a road and down a path that we weren't expecting, which would be really interesting. And again, you know, you could add more context to the revel in what you are, because, you know, it seemed to be quite dark at the time, but actually, what if it was the complete opposite? What if it was actually Howdy trying to save Bray and stop Bray from making a big mistake? And now he's trying to do the same with Braun. So I think anything like that is going to hit well, because it connects to the past. It provides extra context and provides answers. I think it's satisfying. It's not something new that we're having to kind of get used to. We're actually going back to the past. And I think there's so much that you can go back to the past and do that with. Different phases throughout Bray's career, the Wyatt family, when he teamed with Matt Hardy as the Deleter of Worlds, Final Deletion, or Ultimate Deletion, whichever it was called, Firefly Funhouse, and like some of the stuff that was going on in the Funhouse. Do you remember Ramblin' Rabbit always threatened to reveal the truth? You know, Ramblin' Rabbit was always like about to tell us the truth, and he'd always get beaten down or destroyed or ripped apart, or, do you know what I mean? Like, I remember him saying, I'm going to reveal what's really going on here. And then I think Bray had that big mallet. Well, we never found out what was really going on there. And actually, if the rabbit is now being played by Rowan, that could be an interesting story that we could dig into with Rowan. Where, what if Rowan starts to just all of a sudden just sort of have these moments where he's a bit concerned or a bit panicked. Or I'm not saying now, I'm saying, next year, the year after. I'm just saying there's lots of stuff you can go back and do this with. But if he starts acting a bit panicked and a bit jittery and a bit nervous, and the rest of the group are like, is everything okay? Loomis may be showing a bit of concern, yeah, I mean, we could dig into that. I think it'd be really good, I think there's so much you can do. So yeah, do I think that there should be like a split thing with Braun? Yeah. And I would, if I was booking, I'd connect it that way.